Oh, hi, I'm Quentin. There's a game I haven't played in a while that I wanted to show you, but I can't quite find it. That one's close enough. Thirteen, 13, 13, 13, 13. Now, I could play this on MAME, but I'm sure the Commodore version's just as good. Okay, it's going. Now, I could play any of these on an emulator, like a poser, but I'm doing it the way I learned growing up, by downloading it to a floppy disk over a landline at 300 baud. It'll take a while, and when it's finished, I'll have to swap disks and download disk 2, and then disk 3. So why don't we pass the time by visiting some throwback VR worlds, some arcades and hangouts, to bring back that feeling of nostalgia content's a bit saturated, isn't it? I think I waited too long, and there's too much of it now. In some circles, there's even a bit of a backlash. Look, I get it. I've watched every generation build its own pipeline from, oh, the way Glenn Miller played, to didn't need no welfare state. A lot of venerable video essayists have described ways nostalgic feelings can be evoked and exploited, but those feelings give culture its continuity, and it's how we build community between generations. I have my own theory about what's healthy and what's toxic about nostalgia. I think that when you start wishing for a time machine, that is a sign that despair has set in. And that's when the culture warriors come in, blaming progress and plurality for all our problems, promising we can turn back the clock if we could only throw away everything we've learned. So, in the interest of staying positive, let's see if I can do the rest of this video about retro VR worlds without even using the word nostalgia. Because you can't go back. But you can bring things forward. And in that framework, instead of wallowing or idealizing, we're curating, we're preserving, and even creating. This world here is a really good example. When I got my first Quest 2 and loaded VRChat, one of the first things I searched for was 8-bit, and I found this world by Nerd Koopa. He made a few Quest-compatible worlds with an 8-bit aesthetic and chiptune background music. They load and render really fast because of the low-res textures. And each one is original. The layout and the pixel art that make up the world are by Nerd Koopa himself. If you bring someone here and they say, man, I remember this game, no they don't. This setting isn't even a game, it's a beach town. It's got an ice cream stand over here, and some villas back there, a bar, and a vendor's mall. The only game elements are the checkerboard and Never Have I Ever grid. The only elements that don't exist in the real world are the flying cars. The world is built mostly of 1 meter cubes and squares, with 16 by 16 textures, which probably makes you think Minecraft. If you look at it more closely, each 8 by 8 square has its own 4-color palette. That makes me think NES or maybe Sega Master System. And through that constraint, he made a trendy-looking beach neighborhood, a downtown cyber city, and a cute little village square. Retro gaming aesthetics have been popular for a while, and I'm drawn to them because I've been around long enough to be in several cycles of retro computing. I got in on the ground floor as a 1980s whiz kid. As a 1990s teenager, I'd buy old computers and games at thrift stores as a cheap hobby. As a 2000s young professional, I watched Angry Video Game Nerd bring NES game criticism into the mainstream. I watched Homestar Runner lampoon my entire childhood. And I watched G4 TV try so hard.
This is one that I've rigged up. I'll show you the final product here.
And as a 2010s aging hipster who was into all this stuff before it was cool 3 times over, I started seeing places like this open up. 77,077 is pretty much a contemporary 21st century barcade for adults as opposed to families. A few of them are still open in my city. If you've heard of one in yours, then check it out soon, because they're not guaranteed to stay open forever. Some of them just have arcade cabinets, some of them also have pinball. There used to be a few with consoles set up, and one of them had a bunch of Intel PCs set up for LAN gaming. And sometimes they have a stage for rock bands, or for Rock Band. Around 2018, I heard there was a band coming to town. They were going to play an NES game soundtrack, while one of them speed ran the game they were playing. Doors opened Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. It was on the other side of my sprawling desert wasteland, but when am I going to get the chance, right? It's 8:30 and nobody's on stage, and I'm like, well, when does the video game band come on? There's like 3 other bands performing, and the first one's late, so about between 11 and midnight. Glad I asked. Live music be like this sometimes. Some venues just revolve around college-age binge drinkers. Even when a band's target audience is around 40 years old and has to be at work Thursday morning, at jobs we can't be hungover for. Fortunately, a few years later, I did get to see Bit Brigade do 2 games on a weekend at a bar with much better live music space, and Mega Ran opened for them. It was amazing. The way I see it, if a reboot or tribute is successful enough, it resets the clock on its test of time. The first NES games came out 40 years ago, but Mini-Bosses played rock covers of NES games 25 years ago, so they're a 2000s band. Bit Brigade added speedruns to that like 15 years ago, so they're a 2010s band. Aside from music and pictures, there's other new art forms that emerge from retro gaming. Mario games never had level editors, but people made ROM hacks, and that led to Kaizo levels, and that led to Nintendo making a level editor. Mario Maker made its debut at the 2015 Nintendo World Cup, and the trolling started immediately. 10 years later, the trolling hasn't stopped.
I knew it. Damn it, dude.
I might live another 40 years to see each generation's take on 8-bit games. But I don't want to make the whole video about games, so let's go somewhere a little more grounded.
Hey guys, welcome to the Sears grand opening. This world is an exact replica of a Sears I used to work at. I just want to say that this Sears is Sears to stay, making moments matter.
I've noticed a lot of worlds based on defunct retail locations. You can find Sears and Kmart and Blockbuster, often made by former employees who also render the back offices and receiving docks, break rooms, and demonic portals. VR is a relatively cheap way to keep a place alive. 3D modeling is hard work, but at least you don't have to clean it and air condition it or pay taxes on an acre of land. There's a lot of retro shopping malls in VRChat, but when I want to show someone what a 1980s or 1990s mall was actually like, I might show them this mall here by CooperTom. The layout and atmosphere is very close to one of those small no-frills neighborhood malls, and it has a typical array of stores. There's lots of opportunities to exchange stories and reminisce. Roleplay if you like. You cannot handle my burgers, traveler. They're too strong for you. But by all means, first check to see if there's a mall in your city. You might be surprised and find a shopping mall, a roller skating rink, or even a video rental store. There's no guarantee you'll find it or that it'll be the same as you remember. But whatever you feel will at least be grounded in reality. The same applies to media. I mean, remakes, am I right? If you don't like a new version of something, is the old version still out there? I know that streaming services have big gaps in their catalog now, but you might find a used DVD somewhere. Sometimes movie theaters show classic films. Video games are a little trickier because of the physical aspect, but hey, that reminds me. Let's check up on my download. Computers in the 1980s had to contend with bad sectors, line noise, drive misalignment. If we were lucky. Who would have thought 40 years ago that we'd be sitting here with real-time 3D video streams strapped to our faces? Just because something was available didn't mean everyone could afford it. So in 1982, when I was in first grade, my parents brought home a brand new Atari 400. It had 1/3 the RAM of the Atari 800. It had 16 kilobytes, but we didn't care. We could play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, and we could probably write some basic programs. And indeed we did. About 6 years later, when I was in junior high, my best friend finally got their first computer. It was a second-hand VIC-20, which came with 5K of RAM.
But you know, I often think we were happier then, although we were poor.
Because we were poor.
Aye.
Yeah, we joke about it, but truth is, that Atari 400 really was a luxury. Because my family didn't absolutely need it, and we got a lot of use out of it. We learned a lot just exploring what it could do, trying to find practical uses for it. Say, when you were like 7, did your parents ever bring a really complicated adult-level game home, and then you try to play it anyway? And then you try it again when you're older and actually had a chance to understand it? Yeah, that happened to me a few times. I actually did sink some enemy ships in Submarine Commander, but it turns out Jumbo Jet Pilot actually is impossible. And home financial management is not a game. So I could do a whole other video about learning to program as a little kid back in the 1980s, but I'm getting a little bit low on time.
Cannot run out of time. There is infinite time. You are finite.
The way time works, you don't get to choose the time you're in. You not only can't go back, but you can't skip it if it looks like it's going to suck for a few years.
Now remember when we said there was no future? Well, this is it.
I'm writing and filming this in early 2026. And I really can't tell you in good conscience that the good times are happening now. But who knows? I think I'm making this video to convince myself as much as anyone else that the past is not an escape. It can't be. The past led us to where we are now. In those prosperous, worry-free 1990s, the news in America at least was already full of problems that we assumed would be under control in the future. Wars, terrorism, government shutdowns, and of course disinformation campaigns, moral panics. This video has been about bringing forward things from the past, and when we do that, what are we trying to accomplish? When we play an old video game, when we fix an old electronic gadget, when we go to the used record store, when we play a cover of an old song, or when we cook an old family recipe. Now, the cynical viewpoint is that we're looking through rose-colored glasses to make our past seem better than it was and trying to escape into it. But I think it's the opposite. Those years were full of their own struggles and horrors. But even during the worst of them, we found ways to make life worth living. And that's the knowledge we need right now. Things we're bringing back in the 2020s. Flappers, Art Deco, impending economic devastation, the Charleston. It's tragic when we don't learn from history, and it has many lessons about having a good time.
Aye, will you try and tell that to the young people of today? Will they believe you? No!
Hey, thanks for checking out my video. I'm probably going to start doing more of these. I already got my script written for the next one. And usual like and subscribe stuff. I also have a Ko-Fi, so you can buy me a coffee if you like. If I get enough Ko-Fis, then maybe I'll put up a Patreon. Man, I spent way too much time getting the Commodore 64 set up. I hope it was worth it.